listening to Final Frontier News.
I put this out on Twitter a minute ago because everybody's been talking about it for months now. Probably since the pandemic first started. I tweeted out, "Do you believe in the Great Reset?" And 46% said yes. And
yeah, that was surprising out of 56 votes so far.
I'm kind of not surprised, but I'm also, it's like, wow, like that's quite eye-opening, that half the people out there, I mean, only 60 votes so far, but, 30 people believe in it. 30% say no, and then the others say, I don't know what the hell that is, So essentially, it's like, I don't even know 100% what it is. I kind of understand it.
From my understanding, like for COVID-19, isn't it like, like a social contract?
It's like I always thought it was like a way that the rich and stuff like that and the elite and rich could reshape the world, like rework it. And that they could do it so that they could, whatever the reason is, to keep us further down, keep them further ahead, or to create a sort of separate society.
Yeah, because it's under the guise of creating an inclusive, resilient, and sustainable world, but really, it's kind of stocking things in favor of the rich. It seems.
Yeah, like it's like I always thought about it. Like, what was the movie where? Do you remember there was a movie? It was like I kind of didn't like the movie. It might have even been Matt Damon that was in it, and it was like. On Earth, the Earth was like run down kind of and polluted and shit.
And they had Elysium, was it? Something like that?
Elysium.
Yeah.
And the rich people were living on Elysium.
Yeah, it was like a space station up above.
Yeah, it could like
Earth.
they had everything. They had access to like the medical stuff, the robots, everything. Like they could just cure themselves in a second of cancer. Meanwhile, people on Earth were still living in shit, and we were like a penal colony at that point, and the living on space was the rich, and they're doing all these things. That's what I always thought kind of the Great Reset was, and the coronavirus crisis. And there are people that but then there's the Great Reset that like science calls for. So there's another Great Reset, from what I understand, which is
there's one that has to deal with COVID.
Yeah, it's like it's like where people are saying it's a good thing, like we need the Great Reset, like, which is a different thing, which is. Anyone who
That's
wants
why I said there's two and it's confusing, but there's one dealing with COVID and then there's another one dealing with, and both kind of align from what I'm reading here. But the Great Reset, it's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, Justin, what's his name, Trudeau, there was talking about it apparently back November 15th. So, and that was spoken about publicly.
Well, so let me rewind again and try to reset what we're saying. So give us
a Great Reset.
The Great Reset. So what I understand is the Great Reset is almost like a plan, but a plan we're all involved in, not a bad thing, like a thing that, like, we all need to do this probably to it's kind of like I'm trying to think like what a good, like when you refresh your desktop, you got folders all over the place and the folders are just all fucked and your whole desktop is a mess and everything looks terrible. So you hit the refresh button and it throws everything into an organized area.
Yeah, it's a good.
So I don't know. I think that's what they say the Great Reset is. So what you got to understand is there's the idea of the Great Reset, which is whatever. But then there's the idea that the Great Reset is really this darker thing that we don't. They're trying to get us to go along with it. So it's like I'm trying to think of the best way for that. But now there's a conspiracy about the Great Reset is a, kind of conspiracy thing. So like the coronavirus crisis and the need for the Great Reset. It's a guide for anyone who wants to understand how COVID disrupted our social and economic systems and what changes will be needed to create a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable world going forward. So
yeah, the actual non-COVID one deals with economic incentives which have driven American society. So that's interesting to consider. So both is showing, the COVID side of things is showing how what we need to survive and how things need to come to change for us to repair, rebuild, and move on.
Yeah, and if you remember, if everybody remembers, a lot of people have been paranoid about the globalists, right? You hear things from Alex Jones and other conspiracy people talk about the globalists and how there's this one world government and one world plan for globalization. And a lot of people, maybe on the left, or a lot of people would say that's BS, that's all bogus, you know, come on, that's crazy. But then we all kind of, a lot of those same people agree with the idea of the Great Reset. Even right-wing people agree with it. A lot of people do. But the Great Reset would actually create or endure or ensure or bolster that idea of a one world government. So when you say like, oh, the whole Alex Jones is crazy and there's no global idea, globalist idea, and let's all like be under one umbrella. Well, but then you like the idea of the Great Reset. Well, then is what that is. The Great Reset will require us to integrate all stakeholders of the global society into a community with common interests, goals, and actions.
And what's alarming too is that there's not many details. You know, we're hearing all of these, what they want to do, what in theory they can do, what they plan on doing, but then it actually says, you know, details about the Great Reset won't be rolled out until the World Economic Forum meets in Davos in January of next year. So the general plans of the principle are straightforward. The world needs a massive new government programs and far-reaching policies comparable to those offered by American socialists such as Bernie Sanders and AOC they want, so in their Green New Deal plan. So it kind of follows in line with what's going on with that, I guess.
But then they're talking about, I mean, what happens with a financial reset? Will that be included?
Yeah, that's the one that I'm speaking of, because it says, in introducing the Great Reset, world leaders' radical plan to transform the economy. And what they're saying here is that it's a proposal to reset the global economy. Instead of traditional capitalism, the high-profile group said the world should adopt a more socialistic form and socialistic policies, such as wealth taxes, additional regulations, and the massive Green New Deal-like government programs. So that's their idea of a financial Great Reset.
Yeah, you may see it where, and there. By the way, I always enjoy these conversations because I am not sure if that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think maybe you are too, but
yeah, I don't know many details.
No, I mean, it's not even that. You could tell me all the details. I am like, I'm concerned about this, and I'm concerned about the control.
Not sure if it'll work. I'm saying, even if you know all the facts.
But I like the states too. I like our states, how our states handle things, and it's not everything's federal. And so this would be like even more of that. Like we're owned by the world. So the world can control all of us. So as somebody who likes the idea of America and freedom and breaking off from England, you know, we're still under control, but we're under a lot of control still. So, you know, it's like we're always trying to be controlled by something, a group, a local group, then a bigger group, then the bigger state, then the country, then the world, like everything. So the idea of this type of power could be super dangerous and scary. But then there's the other side of it where I like Star Trek, and I like the idea that we're using all of our research to be better humans or be a better society or humanity or whatever. So if that's the case, then like I like that, and I like the idea that, you know, nobody will starve anymore. You know, maybe nobody will starve, you know, but there won't be a Jeff Bezos either who can control like the entire frigging country and pay his employees shit.
Exactly. So,
you know,
and part of the thing is too, you know, a socialist economy, when they set it up that way, it typically changes it so that most of your goods are not produced in mass. That's how I've understood it. Things are not done, you know, because they're saying that capitalism makes for a lot of waste, and they're not wrong in that sense. I mean, I can see what they mean, but basically what they're getting at, to my knowledge, is anytime you want or need something, it's at an like per need basis. It's every time you order something, that's when it's made, created, or whatnot. There wouldn't be a surplus or backstock of many things.
But what I don't get about that though is they're lumping it in with COVID too. And one thing about that is, well, if you don't have a surplus of stuff, look at how far behind you can get if a pandemic hits.
Exactly. So that's what worries me as well, because as you said, sorry, there's so much noise in the background.
It's okay.
When they went ahead and we had this whole pandemic. We had no PPE ready. We didn't have masks. We didn't have gowns. We didn't have, we needed these things. So it would have been nice to have an excess amount at that point in time. But had we never had the pandemic and we had all this stuff, it's sitting there, you're wasting money. So it depends on how you look at it. If the pandemic didn't occur, then hey, we would have used all of that. The need isn't there. Supply and demand, as always, it comes down to.
Obviously, with some things, we don't need like a billion pieces. Like, so if you're producing plastics, so if there's a way to eliminate pollution, because producing plastics at a lower rate creates less pollution, right? Like, so like if you're just making things on a smaller machine and eco-friendly, well, it doesn't need to be mass produced, so we don't need the bigger machines, the bigger smoke, the bigger pollution. Then if we're saving the environment with it, and it's like something stupid like straws or whatever the fuck, and we don't need that many, and they need to mass produce to keep up. I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer to this is, really, 100%.
I guess a good chunk of pollution is coming from electronic production.
I'm sure it is. Oh, dude, here's the
cell phones, computer parts.
Oh my God, if you want anxiety, just think about the piles and piles of cell phones, the lithium batteries.
Oh, absolutely. That's why they're saying too that a socialist economy. And I'm not saying this is right. I'm just spouting out what I'm reading and what I see here.
Yeah.
And that's why I like always discussing these things, as you said too. That's why a lot of times we do the wrestling reviews, and my mind's not made up. I like to discuss things and work things out, because my initial opinion might be, okay, I don't care for this. But when you talk it out, you're like, oh, well, maybe that did work. You need to expand things. That's how so hearing about it, some of the things sound ideal. Typically in a socialist economy, things are planned or coordinated, so they don't suffer from the business cycle inherent to capitalism, where you have this constant sufficient amount of demand for products. That's what's driving your profits. Here you're just going to have as needed. What you need is created and ordered.
But let me ask you this: what I don't understand about this is, if it wasn't needed, it wouldn't be made there either, because supply and demand. I mean, even under capitalism.
Well, what they try and do is artificially drive up demand in a capitalist society to create it. They try and create that demand so that people want these products that they've created excess of.
Okay.
They hype and incentives.
Yeah, but what about when they don't do that and they don't sell? Then they don't sell and they don't produce them. I mean, I don't
because it's only that in a socialist environment, it's only what's useful. It wouldn't be things of luxury, I guess. It's
okay.
What you need versus what you want.
Man, I don't. So wait a minute. So like lots of So you're talking. I mean, are we still going to have cell phones that we?
I don't imagine, because cell phones have become a necessity, but maybe it wouldn't be the $1,500 ultimate elite cell phone. It would be something kind of simpler.
So you're going to dumb down creativity in society then, because
that's a worry too. I mean,
you're going to stifle innovation.
Absolutely, because look at how much tech has advanced in the last few years.
I can't see that happening. I can't see people or anybody being like, "Yo, let's stifle the,"
even focusing on stifling things. Just the idea that you would have businesses only producing as automotive, that would be so non-cost effective for them to produce one car at a time every time somebody orders one.
Yeah, it's not.
I knew Harley Davidson did that. I went to their factory for a tour, and they actually make the bikes as ordered when I went. It was a very cool process. They didn't have anything as a surplus. No stock was extra. Everything was ordered and made to order. So that was really cool.
Yeah, you're talking
about... That was because they didn't have excess orders like Ford or Toyota would.
I mean, you're talking about basically like Honda. Like Honda says, "Yo, let's, Toyota sold, Toyota sold 5 million vehicles in this area last year or whatever. Like, we want to sell 6 million. So get your sales guys on the phone to these dealerships and places and get them to buy or whatever." I mean, I don't even know how it works.
Yeah, that's when they start offering incentives. Well, if you buy 1,000 cars, we'll give you 10 free, that kind of stuff.
But don't they still kind of make to around the order? They know, like, hey, when we come out with this new vehicle, we're going to sell 30,000. So they produce 50,000. Like, I mean,
yeah,
like,
but in this, from my understanding, the way I'm reading it, it would be they only produce what's ordered. So there would be no extra.
now I'm trying to think. So how is that exactly going to help? Because in the end, if somebody orders, if they end up selling 1 million over the course of 2 years, whether they make them all up front or whether they make them per order, won't they still sell the same amount of vehicles? And what's the difference then?
I would think so, but I guess just not to have that on hand. The idea is to reduce waste. So,
but what if it's not? It's not going to be waste. I mean, I've never heard of cars being thrown out. Like, okay, they didn't.
Yeah,
sell.
no, I understand too. I'm not, up to snuff enough with this. But
Well,
the way
I'm not even necessarily asking you. I'm just throwing that question out there. Maybe
general,
somebody else in the comments will answer us.
I mean, your answer is obviously logical. Why would you not, make them up front knowing that you would sell this over this amount of time? But I guess the idea behind it is saying that you don't definitely know because projections fail all the time. And you could think you'll sell 2 million. You might sell 3, you might sell more, but you could sell less. No one saw the pandemic coming. So last year they made, we're going to sell 4 million cars, and now no one's buying cars. So that's their idea. If you did it this way, where you only made per order, then you won't have all this excess and all that extra wasted money and added pollution wouldn't have been necessary.
It's like I'm trying to compare it to my hot water tank. Like we got rid of we got an energy efficient thing or whatever the hell they call it because we got that grant thing from the state because Massachusetts has all the renewable energy stuff.
Yes.
So
That's
like
great.
It was like, so the hot water boiler, right? We have everybody has a lot of people have boilers. We had the boiler too. And, the boiler, it heats up all the time to stay heated. So when you turn on the hot water's hot right away almost because your boiler is filled and it's constantly heating it itself. I guess, right? That's how a boiler works, I suppose.
Yeah, it keeps it at that hot temperature and then kicks on to heat itself.
Allegedly, and I don't know the numbers, but we got a wall panel thing. We got rid of the boiler. Boiler's gone. There's all this big space in the basement now in the corner. This unit goes on the side of the wall, and it only heats the water when you use the water. So when I turn on the hot water, it's not hot for a second. And you'll hear, if you're in the basement, it kicks on. The gas starts pumping, the flame kicks on, and it goes, it heats the water, and then the water gets hot. It takes about 10 seconds longer for the water to get hot, probably. So if you get it, you'll be like...
Tankless one entirely?
There's no tank. I have no tank.
So it's just in the wall. Those are so incredibly cool. The technology for it actually comes from a green tech company from Waterbury, Connecticut.
Really? I didn't even know that. Dude, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah, EcoSmart comes electric tankless water heaters comes right from here, and then ThermoSpa is in Wallingford, my town. So
I said to Leah, how is it more efficient? Because like I feel like somebody's always turning on the heat, the hot water, and it's always like it comes on and everything. And I'm like the off and on. I'm like, doesn't that take up more? Isn't it more efficient to heat the whole thing, and then when you use it, it's there, and then
just gradually take off of what you've already heated, and then just have to warm it up again rather than heat it fresh every time. But I guess not. I guess it's 25% more efficient on the very minimum, upwards of 60% at the higher end.
Yeah, and so it is. I looked it up too the other day, and I was like, oh wow, I guess I saw how it all. I didn't understand how it all could work and how that could be. Is what I thought. I was like, I don't really believe that. I feel like whatever. But I guess, the hot water heaters, like always, it's like it lights a lot to heat the water. And then when you're using the water, it heats while you're using it. So not only is it heating when you're using it, but it's also heating when you're not using it. So it's heated.
Twofold, because, you want the hot water on demand. And, now it's truly on demand because it's conserving energy. But
right.
Yeah. Like you said, showers, bathtubs, sinks, dishwashers, washing machines, radiators, spas, pools. I mean, depending on what you have in your home, a lot of things rely on that hot water heater. And just you not having that tank is better too, because in case there's any issues, you don't have to worry about that leaking, or that's helpful too.
Yeah, those are. I suppose that it's. I don't know what we're gonna see, but it's been in the house now for. I want to say I've had it 8 months now, and The one thing I just noticed was that I was kind of annoyed at first because I went, you know, you used to turn on the hot water and it's like just right there. Now you turn on the hot water and you're like, wait. Okay. So, you know what I mean? And that's why we were doing it the other way, because first of all, we didn't have the technology, right? We hadn't started using the technology yet, right? And we didn't have the technology, but now that we've perfected it, or like really gotten close to perfecting the efficiency of something like this, you know, now it makes more sense. Back then it was like, well, not only do we not have it really down, but also, you know, people want hot water like now. Let's go. Like, why would I want to wait? You used to have to wait. You'd have to wait like minutes for this to heat up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was like nobody would sell it. And you know what I mean? They couldn't sell it. Hey,
yeah, I got you.
Yeah, do you want to pay $600 or whatever, $500 to $1,000 for a hot water heater? Or do you want to pay $5,000 for something that doesn't heat your water for like a minute? It takes a minute. Like, people would be like, fuck you. Like, give me $600. So, but now that we're having this
economy might be able to, you know, the environment, I meant to say not economy, might be able to, you know, swing that and be like, oh, that's too expensive. But even if you're trying to not leave your own footprint.
And, you know, some people would say like, oh, but dude, like, but now you're eliminating choice. What if somebody wants to have the hot water heater? And it's like, well, I agree. I think they should be able to have it if they want the hot water heater. But what's weird is, you know, to be more efficient and save the environment, and just to be more efficient, before it would cost you $5,000. Why is it that the more efficient thing costs way more money, and the thing that hurts the environment and wastes things is wicked cheap? It should be the opposite. The thing that is better, like at heating the water, but is a waste machine, that you should be penalized for that. Oh, you want the best one? Fine, but it's also a big wasting piece of crap. So here, you know, you're gonna pay more for that. Like someday I would envision, like, oh, my cord's all messed up. Oh, no wonder my mic's been weird. My cord's messed up. Every time I pull on it, I get a different audio level. Oh my god, wow, I gotta fix that. But no, so wow, I gotta get a new XLR. I envision this, Jake. I really envision this, man. When me and you are older, like when we're like, I don't know how old, like 50, or if we make it to be, hopefully we do. I really do, man. I hope we make it to 50, 60, 70. But I hope it's I wonder if at 60 years old, you know, we're going to be like, you know what? I miss gasoline cars. I kind of want to go grab one, you know? And there it is. You know, there's a gas car available, but it's probably like wicked expensive. Like it would cost you.
Yeah. Gas stations would be a thing of the past. Essentially, now everywhere would be charging or some type of, you know,
solar power, water, charging.
Exactly, some type of energy, you know, consumption point for your vehicle.
But if you could, it's not illegal. You can drive a gas powered.
You could drive it. It would just be, like you said, so rare. It'd be like, you know, a hot rod classic car, you know,
yeah, essentially.
But yeah, I mean, that is crazy to think about. And people saying, oh, that won't happen or that couldn't happen. Look at a major staple of my childhood and even adult life, because I worked there and was a manager for so long, was movie stores.
Yeah,
I worked at Hollywood Video for years. There's one Blockbuster left in this entire country.
Isn't that in Alaska or something?
Yeah, go figure. And it's a sad state that, you know, all these streaming services ruined that. But that was a family experience that people enjoyed. I used to have families come in and spend an hour minimum, sometimes two, just walking around the store. Everybody picks out their movies, their snacks. You don't have that now. I was laughing, you know, before the pandemic.
And they put out family businesses, though. That's the one thing. Yeah. One thing people don't remember is we always talk about Blockbuster, but what we don't talk about is how family video stores were around first. Like Jason's Family Movies, and we would all go out to family video stores, and then Blockbuster came out, like McDonald's, and put out of business a lot of family stores. And then when all the family stores went out of business, there was only Blockbuster, kind of like WWE or something.
Yeah, Blockbuster in Hollywood.
And Hollywood Video, Blockbuster Video, and there was maybe one other I can't remember. And
yeah, we had local ones here, and then, like you said, once Hollywood came after Blockbuster was already here, they all closed up. Mad Mike's, Tommy K's, DVD night, all that
Mine
stuff.
was Don's Family Video or something. And then, but no, anyway, continue with what you're saying. I just wanted to know.
We used to have to, look in the newspaper for movie times, and then, because Danny was searching on the phone for
until
it.
Movie Phone. Remember Movie Phone came out in like
that's exactly what I brought up to her. I said Movie Phone was hilarious. We'd have to call it. It was the greatest thing in the world, and it took forever. I said the guy's voice. Welcome to Movie Phone. For Titanic, press 1.
Rated R.
Sphere, press 2. Yeah.
Didn't you get excited when he said rated R? You were like, yeah, I want to see that one. Rated R. And you're like, oh my God, yeah.
Then you have to press the number and be like, for said movie at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
5:30 p.m.
Isn't it still out? Isn't it still available? Isn't it still out?
I don't know. I
Let's
imagine so.
Let's call it right now. Let's figure this out. We need to figure. I swear to God, there's still a Movie Phone. Let me see. 1-800-movie. Wait a minute. Was it always Movie Phone? What was the number?
FONE, but I'm trying to remember. They still have the website for it. I don't see.
Move. Is it Move Phone? Let's see. Let's see if this is the number. How do we not? There had to have been an easy number. There had to have been an easy number for it.
They shut it down in February 23rd, 2014. It was 777 Film.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yep, that's what it was.
Wow. Wow. It was even available just in 2014. That's like yesterday. So we really did just have it.
Or smartphones, for people to go ahead and look at the times online. So
I have a nice line across my $1,000 phone. I have a big line across the top of it. Speaking of stuff,
you were saying it broke. How the hell did that happen?
Dude. I was running and it shot out of my pocket. So, but it's the worst because I own my own phone. I owned my old phone. I owned it. So I was like, all right, I own this now. And then I literally broke it that week, and it was like, wow. So then I went and got this one, which is going to cost me $25 a month for like 2 years, which is, that's not a real smart thing to do. But my mother and even Leah were like, listen, just get the new one, like whatever. And I'm like, this is a dumb thing to do. Like, and so I did it, and it was a dumb thing to do. But apparently I get, but you talk about wasting. I think looking back right now, not just because I cracked the screen, but even days ago, I was thinking like, I've got these bills. The other day I didn't buy certain foods because of money. And I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, what have they done to us? Why have I no self-control? I should not have bought this. I should have said, no, give me the one that's $3 a month, or give me the free one, or give me whatever, or gone on and bought one for $100 and then just had it activated, whatever. Like, and so I really made a stupid mistake. And not a lot of people will say that. A lot of people will just say no. They won't even make the mistake. They're that good, they'll know not to do it, or they just actually can't do it. But then there's the people that just do it and they don't even think about it or care, and then they wonder why they're in trouble. And then I feel like I'm the middle ground.
Point of the population that's willing to put themselves in debt no matter what. And that's kind of the.
But I really made a dumb decision. So like,
I've made tons of decisions like that. I love new tech, and if I had the money, I'm sure I'd be looking for an Xbox myself. Same with you, But we have families and bills and Christmas to worry about and holidays. But I totally understand your point. What you see that more people used to be able to withstand the ad machine, and be able to hold back. But now it's ingrained in every bit of our culture and lives.
14-year-old,
everything. It's a status symbol. It's
part of you, dude. It's like it's
part of your body at this point.
What's it called? It's your avatar. It's like it's your avatar. It's your assistant. It's like your sword, bro. It's like back in the day, like when people would talk about, it was all about like your horse or your sword or your helmet or your hat or whatever, those type of things. That's
never leave home without it.
Yeah, that's your phone. Your phone is that now, man. Our phones, think about it, how funny that is. Like back in the day, like your hat and your horse, like that was it. Maybe years ago, and it was your sword and your land or something, whatever it is. But now it's like, dude, it's like it's my phone. My phone is my thing. Like I'm thinking like years in the future when everything is built into our brains instead. phones are going to be looked at like this antique thing. Like people used to carry these square boxes, computers around with them to help them function or to communicate with people or to do all these things. And like, oh my God, you guys had to carry this thing around with you? What the hell? You guys didn't have Nanzarus 3 programmed in your brain? No.
You didn't have that. You didn't get the firmware update yet.
Yeah, no, there won't even be firmware. It'll be like you didn't get the nano transaction, or you didn't get the nano fucking transparency dump, or like whatever the hell, like seriously, like I mean, I don't know how that's gonna happen, but now whether that's in 20 years from now, or 10 or 20 years, or if that's in 80 years, I don't know. I don't know if that's 100 years away or 20 years away, but that something like that's going to happen, and the other thing about it too
look
is
at how fast and how far cell phones have progressed, just as staying with that idea.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because whatever is next isn't, I mean, there's two ways it can go, right? The two ways it can go are that for years we do have these, and we're always kind of upgrading or playing around with little tricks and things on the phone, and that's it. It could last forever. Because look at radio, right?
Yeah,
like radio is still around. Radio was around back in when it was created. 1890 or I don't know,
around there.
Some year when they found out about they knew about radio waves for a long time, but when they finally made it into radio, and in 1905 you were sitting there like.
It was 1895 to 96.
Okay.
By Ian Marconi, excuse me. And the radio began being used commonly in the early 1900s. So around 1901, it says that towers were going up.
So it's like, radios still used to this day. Newspapers still used to this day, although they're in trouble. But now we view that media on the phone and computer more, so it's still around in a different way.
Exactly. KDKA in Pittsburgh was one of the first ones to have a full-on entertainment radio station in 1920.
Wow. Oh,
and that was covering things like news and history.
So my point in saying that is then there's other things that completely go away. Like you never see that again almost, or it completely upgrades into a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And so you wonder how the phone,
the rotary phone became, a touch tone and dial, and it progressed. It worked its way from what it was to a new iteration.
Yeah.
And then, handhold became cordless
bicycles
became wireless became
like bicycles.
So
we're not using, kids aren't riding like floating devices around and stuff like that. Like it's still bicycles in the 1800s, bicycles in the 1900s, bicycles still now. So that's the point, though. But there are some things that completely change. And I was thinking about it, too, the other day when I was watching a guy playing the piano live on Facebook. This guy's feed came up locally. I don't know why. And he was sitting there, and he had a big tablet, and it was sitting on his piano. He had this old piano from 1940 that he had, this beautiful piano, obviously a rich guy around here somewhere.
Yeah.
And there it was. He had the classic booklet on the left, and then he had his piano, and then the lights were lit like candles. It looked like an old-time home. He was about 68, 70 years old. Classic white New England looking guy, maybe a doctor or something. And then there was his tablet in the middle of the piano where he would just flip the tablet, like flick it, and the page would turn on the tablet. And I'm like, see, that's what we never, like, there are some movies that really do a good job with this, where you see this use of advanced technology.
Yeah, such a simple thing, but it's a practical application that you didn't consider before. And they actually have ones now where the app listens to what you're playing along with the sheet music, and it'll turn to the next page for you.
Holy shit.
It keeps count like a metronome, so it knows what bar you're at.
Oh my God.
What measure. So it's
That's
incredible.
Awesome. That's crazy.
I mean, the iPhone, the original one, released on Danny's birthday, 2007, June 29th. And I got the original iPhone for free, lucky enough, but they owed it to me. When Singular became AT&T, I was in the hospital a lot at that point still, and I had no cell phone service for months, but I didn't have enough. I kept calling them, and they when I got home from the home phone, and they gave me the runaround. So finally, when I was able to go to the store right after Danny was born, they're like, "Oh, we never gave you an upgraded SIM card that would make you active to our network."
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I've had no service for going on 3 months now,
Jesus.
and all these problems. So they kept apologizing, and they're like, "What can we do for you?" I'm like, "I'll take that." Jokingly, I said it, meaning the new iPhone.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, yeah, we'll throw that in right now, and We apologize and we'll get you all set up.
What
I was like, oh, I was just literally joking, like, being stupid. Like, oh, I'll take that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got the new iPhone right after that, and you can only pay for it. Then it was like $600, and didn't even have an app store.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
It was very, very limited. But to see how much the tech has advanced, even a year's time to the 3G that came out after that, and smartphones taking off. I mean, you were going from flip phones and you had to add a camera manually into the bottom that would connect. So now it's just incredible how much they have.
What's crazy is growing up watching Star Trek and seeing them with the tablets, in the old Star Trek, and then in Star Trek The Next Generation, them walking around with tablets and touching the screens and stuff. And like, we have that now, and we're doing that now. But what's weird about that is how that technology progressed too. Like, we had laptops in the 90s, and in the 80s we had laptops, and we had laptops in the 80s and 90s, and then we had Palm Pilots come out in like 1996 or 5 or something. So you had handheld Palm Pilots come out, and they started to really pick up in like 1999 and 2000, 2001 and 2. Like Palm Pilots, they'd have little pens. You'd pull the pen out and you'd touch the computer screen, and it was running like Windows on a Palm Pilot. And we had the MP3 players before Apple iPhones. The MP3 players are really what kind of helped spawn those. Like, it was just about carrying music around with you.
Yeah.
And then they got screens, and then they were like, fuck, we could integrate this in a phone. It's crazy.
If you look back at Star Trek, and there's this list is massive, but you figure for half a century, all the stuff they've done, there's within the whole show, every series, there's 726 episodes, 4 spin-off series, 13 movies. There's so much. But if you go just by the original series when it launched, tablet computers exist now. We have a form of tractor beams, actually. It's crazy, but scientists invented a real tractor beam that can levitate objects, just like in Star Trek. That's existing. They have tricorders that are actually there, flip communicators and badge ones that you can wear, needleless injections like their hypo sprays and replicators, and it just goes on and on. Portable memories. Well, we have USBs and flash sticks. Bluetooth headsets like Uhura had. What else? Voice, Siri for computers, biometric data tracking, GPS, automatic doors, big screen displays, real-time universal translators, teleconferencing, bionic eyes for the blind, diagnostic beds. We have that now as well. Like, it's just incredible.
Some of the stuff you just got to look for. Some of the things with like the Great Reset or whatever, the scary part of it. But some of this stuff is like, we talk about this all the time. And I mean, I'm not going, it's up to our own individual selves to go to the doctors the right way. But part of the reason why a lot of people don't do it is because of the cost and the idea of the bills and what could happen. And that's another reason why, man, if we could really transform medical health care, like, and you know what I mean, into something that's like more inviting, like, don't worry about it. Go do it because it's covered for you, for the most part. It made it more inviting. Like, you could really improve people's quality of lives, but like, why would, then it becomes like, how many extra people on the planet would be here then? And then we'd really be talking about a meltdown in the global. So I don't know, man, if we'll ever.
Yeah, because that's why, one of the things that happened over time is the life expectancy grew. Things became more difficult in the sense because they weren't expecting people to live that long. We used to, die a lot earlier.
And now it's almost like I feel like it's dropped a little bit, like, in a way, because like they've been so negligent about everything because maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they're like, what, if people keep living to be 80.
I'm not saying like socialized medicine is the answer or anything, but there has to be a better way. Courtney's mom went to get COVID tested the other day, and it was supposed to be free no matter what. But I guess because she went to like a MediQuick, it was like $50 plus whatever. And I'm like, it's terrible that people have to be charged so much anyways. And then here you are, especially in the pandemic, you figure these tests should be provided at this point because you want everyone to get tested so they don't get more people sick. And
right.
But one of the big things that people aren't considering that they were discussing the other day that's very true is, I guess, preventable cancer screenings are down by a huge margin because people can't go and get all these tests and procedures done to make sure they don't have these cancers, colonoscopies, mammograms, so on and so forth. So all of these preventable cancers, years from now, we're going to see pop up because people didn't get screenings.
Are they back though? Are they back to like doing those again, like colonoscopies and things? Are they back? aren't they?
I don't know, because I know here in Connecticut, they're back where like there's no elective surgeries, and they're reverting back a few rules, but a lot of places seem to be rolling back the changes. I know at one point in time they brought those things back in Connecticut, and then now it seems
they definitely got to bring them back unless the hospital is overrun for some reason, because now that they know, like, I don't know, or they got to like relocate, like that'd be another thing.
I don't want to let people in the hospital, so to put anybody at risk if it's unnecessary. So if it's not emergent, like you don't need the colonoscopy, you don't need the mammogram, you don't need whatever type of normal heart screening, things like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just.
But how many? But when you take 1,000 people that are like, I really don't think anything's wrong, and neither does my doctor, but they just wanted me to get this anyway. If you take 1,000 of those people, fucking 3, 5, 10 of them they're going to be like, you know what, something is here.
Yeah, probably. I think it's statistically proven to be a lot higher than that. But yeah.
Yeah. So like even if it's 20%,
if you save one life, is it worth it?
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the pandemic that's so difficult to discuss, because you have to look at it with like the lockdown. First, I'm like, yeah, do the lockdown, get all that. But then when you look at it, how mental health is a huge aspect. Locking people down is risky in that way. And then how many jobs are ruined, and how many people end up homeless or lose their livelihood, or there's so many counter effects to trying to fix one problem. So I know there's no right answer, but you have to say like which is the better of the two, avoiding loss of life, or causing irreparable damage to people's lives.
That's why in a perfect world, our government goes to work. Our government and people and all of us go to work on, we're going to immediately open a facility. Every facility that's not able to be open in the hospital, we're going to build an off-site facility that's separate for just those issues, or for just COVID right now. Like, we're just going to do it. They're going up right now. You know what I mean? They would be erected right now. They would be built right now in like every major city and in every state at least, so that there was for people that like need to get that pre-screening and need to get the colonoscopies done and need to get the other things done. We would just, as a society, be like, we're going to double down on our health right now. Like, fucking, we're going to take 2% out of the military, which we don't, 2% out of the military. And we're going to erect a mini hospital near the hospitals in every major city and state where we can approve it and zone it the right way. And, like, all of a sudden we would put up these things. And you know what I mean? Like, probably 80% of the country's hospitals would have a mini site where we could regulate this and create this. But we don't do anything like that because, number one, money, number two, weird laws, and number three, like logistics and whatever and weird. So, and we're not going to take any money out of the military and things. So it's just weird. It's just we don't do anything because we don't do so many things because of all that. I mean, look at how bad the politicians. I mean, they've handled some things really well and done a really great job with certain things. But they've handled some things just stupid, like really dumb, and I don't know, man. Unfortunately, you have to tackle all this at local levels. You got to like the local area and then your state, and everybody's going to do that job really well. And then if all the states do that, then the country seems like it's doing well. And then the world can do well. But what they have done well is saved everybody's lives. I mean, dude, can you imagine how many, they're like, what would you say now? Like, they're like 70% better at saving people's lives right now than they were 7 months ago.
Oh, absolutely. Now it's basically where 1 in every 40 is dying versus before where it was much higher.
1 in every 40, like critical people?
Yeah, of the worst cases.
Yeah, like it's way different. Like it's like Massachusetts numbers, like when we shot up to one of our highest amounts we've been at since March. Like we beat several days in March. Back then in March, like those critical people like were dead, like 80, like half of them were or like what was it, 5 to 10% of them were dying. Now it's way less than that. And it's like, what did they do? And the only thing I can think is when I watch all the hospitals be like, oh, we figured this out, we figured that out.
Yeah, they learned a bunch of new ways because it's not really medicine that.
It's like, well, the other problem is every time someone came in, depending on the age and depending on what was going on, they were having a different critical issue. So I guess this is what it is that the hospitals are like, oh, this guy's suffering that situation where the immune system's over attacking the liver or the lungs. Okay, we know how to do that. Okay, this guy's
this
having
one, the lungs are filled with fluid, and you can't get. Yeah, this one, the guy's having heart condition with the COVID. Yeah, everybody had something that was drastically different.
Yeah, so I wonder if they have like a chart that's like, okay, this guy's got COVID, he's on level 3, type B, and he's got type B symptoms, and like they know all these different organizations of the disease and times and slots, and it's got to be that, and you can only really get that information by, unfortunately, like all the people that died of it and all the people that got sick with it early on, the first 3-4 months.
Doctors are saying they're seeing and treating patients sooner too in the emergency room, right. And remdesivir is being administered sooner to patients to help with their breathing. And steroids, if given early enough, have been found effective to manage the body's inflammatory response. That's why I'm, it gained as much weight as I did, as because I was on all those steroids for so long.
Yeah. You're probably like immune to COVID without even knowing it, because
without knowing it, right? Don't need the antibodies, just everything else.
Yeah. Why didn't this guy Jake get it? He was kissing a person with it. Oh, we found out that like these 3 different steroids combined with each other makes you fucking Superman.
Cure.
But you're gonna throw up every day. That's the problem.
But hey, you can vomit a lot, but you won't get COVID.
I'm on super like vitamin C like fucking things and vitamin D. If you can't get out in the sun, you got to get out in the sun. If you can't get out in the sun at all somehow, then you got to be taking vitamin D. It's just a big thing. It's a few
minutes every day helps if you can get out and stretch, walk, get your body some air. And the funny thing is too with science, how the same thing, the same treatment or the same vaccine could be so drastically different. They're both treating the same disease, same sickness with COVID-19, but Moderna's vaccine is 94.5% effective. That's a great efficacy rate to begin with, because we thought Pfizer's was great at 90%. Well, this is 4.5% higher. But here's the thing. Pfizer's vaccine, they were worried about distribution because it has to be shipped out and stored at minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit.
And I heard you have to get 2 shots.
Yes, and you have to get 1 initial shot and then a booster 28 to 30 days following. Jesus. And Moderna is said that theirs is stable at refrigerator temperatures, so from 36 to 48 degrees Fahrenheit. And they can stay refrigerated for 30 days, and it can be stored for 6 months if it's at -4 degrees. Yeah. So now they just do fridge trucks.
Dude,
that's fine. There's tons of refrigerator trucks. I mean, that's how they get food all over the country. So that's not an issue. But having to create special storage areas for this -94 degree vaccine.
Jesus Christ.
I read some of the logistics behind that. It was insane. They have nowhere even to store it right now.
Yeah.
Before they can ship it to people for use.
Unfortunately, it's going to be like the beginning of our discussion with mass producing. You won't be able to mass produce it. You're going to have to roll it out in mini shipments. So it's going to take 2 years to get everybody inoculated.
Issue. Well, I guess Moderna's having great success with theirs, and with theirs just needing to be refrigerated to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
What do you think gets it first?
Ordered 60 million doses.
Who's going to want this first? Right, compromised people, probably people who have are in danger of.
I think they're going to go with
old people,
first responders first.
Yeah,
and I don't know if they'll do essential workers lumped in with that.
Probably. I mean, they'd probably recommend
I would assume
it. But
so.
And then that's going to get us into the whole, like, oh, you work at Stop and Shop. Do you have the vaccine? If you don't, you have to go home. So think of
its own right. And can the jobs force you to get it?
But dude, think about how insulting this is. You've worked during this pandemic since day one without knowing how deadly this disease really is and exactly what it's going to do to you or anybody. And you've been working at the grocery store since day one with fucking minimum wage pay. And now your job tells you you're fired or you can't work unless you get this vaccine. And if you don't want to get the vaccine, what kind of a weird insult is that you put your life on the line for 8 months and now they're telling you have to have the vaccine?
Yeah, how ass backward is that? Like, I understand,
but vaccine, I get it.
But it's still, but that's the way you thank someone who's, what's the difference if they've risked themselves this whole time?
Listen, I'm Mr. Star Trek. I'm Mr. like, I lean to like, I'll admit it. I admit it to you and to everybody. I've had all my shots for my whole life. My kids have had all their shots. So clearly I lean towards I believe you. give me the shot. I believe you. I'll conform. So I lean towards that way, but I'm well aware of that. There are some people, though, that will not. And I wouldn't want to force them not to. I would want them to first see. I would be like, all right, you can be one of the last ones that gets inoculated then, because I believe that it, if you prove to everybody that it's safe and that it's the right way, most people will probably then maybe come around to getting it and things like that.
That's why the World Health Organization is so important for what they do with vaccines.
They are important, but they're also dickheads.
Oh, I didn't say they're not corrupt beyond measure. And
they suck China. Yeah, I mean, that's their problem. They are good for things and bad. It's just like everything. It's like the World Health Organization isn't completely like fake garbage, close them now, but they're also not like the most wonderful thing ever. Save them. There's some things that they do.
But the best thing
amazing.
They do is providing vaccines, to places that don't.
But some people would say that they're evil for that, because they're going to be the ones that distribute the inoculations that help reset the world or what. You know what I mean? So like, I'm just saying that, like, I'm very cautious. I am worried. I am super excited about technology, science, and everything. And I'm also super scared and cautious. I think Joe Rogan takes the similar approach. He's like excited, but he's like, ooh, but that kind of power with people, you know what's going to happen. But speaking of that real quick, I've been ranting about math and science, because without math, there is no science. I said this the other day, and I was arguing with people about it because someone was saying, I was telling people how science is the new religion. I grew up loving science. I love science to death, like the experiments and all those type of things, and I do. I still love it now. But there's this new cult following of science. Science is always changing. At one point, science told us the earth was flat. I mean, like, like there were people who were smart who were like, the earth is clearly flat, and the sun is this and that. And they were scientists, Yeah.
I mean, and that was the, common thought at that point in time. And that was the consensus. The earth is flat and don't question it.
That's why you got to be careful with science. Science is a measuring stick. Science is the search for knowledge and the search for truth. It's not the truth and the knowledge. Some people confuse it. It's a measuring tool. Without math, science falls apart. It almost does every time. Everything in science that usually finds a definitive answer or measurement comes from mathematics. Science is more a method or like a way to try to prove something. It's not the proof. It's the search for knowledge. So what's going on now is a lot of people have abandoned religion, right? There's an attack on Christianity. There's an attack on Muslims by the America because of what Muslims did. There was an attack on Christians by what Christians and Muslims. And all these religious people, they would put God ahead of everything else. We'd make laws, we'd believe in stuff because God. A lot of these people now are scientist people, and they're like, because science. And you find out time in and time again that science was wrong. It wasn't 1901, it's actually 1400s. Oh, it wasn't. Pluto is a planet. It's not a planet now. It is a planet. And people go, yeah, because we're studying it. We learn things. Yeah, I know that. I like that part of science. But there are some people that take science as, well, now this means everything is true and that's it. And you'll take the current science over anything else. And even if you say, yeah, but I don't agree with that because this and that. Well, the current science says this, so now we're going to do this. What if we change the whole world because of the science on certain global warming, but then we find out it was actually for some other reason? Then we're like, oh, shit, we made a mistake. So there are so many examples so people are blindly following science when it's not, doesn't mean it's fact.
That's why science is the study through observation and experiment. I mean, that's what happens. You experiment, you try and try again, and you observe and see what the outcomes are, and that's why things change. So you try and prove things, but nothing's ever irrefutable.
Yeah, and also changing some of the surroundings or changing some of the physical attributes can change the answer. And so the answer is,
have variables and controls and all different types of scenarios possible. So,
and that's why math, even though I'm not as good at math, so like that's probably another reason why a lot of people like science and I like science is because like it's a lot funner to do experiments and things like that. But real math is unbelievable. What's going on? Mathematical equations, the way we exist and the way things around us exist. I'm gonna get into some stuff next time in this next show we do, because it is unbelievable what's going on around us, and everything seems to be numbers, unfortunately, which is, I never liked that. I always thought, when you find the guy who finds like, then I found the number 3 in everything, like I'm not talking about that. That's just coincidental, anomalic weird stuff. Okay, whatever. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the idea that you can really get to the nitty gritty in the bottom of everything with mathematical numbers and stuff like that. It actually makes up what's going on, just like math and science proves all these things, and we can use it. But science it's like religion, science, math. And I wonder what's after math. What's after that, or what's involved in that we don't know about. But I think
you should wonder, say religion, but
I think religion's on the bottom. See, I think it's like, people. And originally people,
I would put it at the top, but I would put it in there somewhere.
No, I'm talking about as far as what's real. Like, people,
okay.
a guy stands on a mountain originally and goes, "Oh my God, the sun is like, the sun gives us life, the sky and the rain." And they're looking at everything physical attributes. Like, there's something more to this. Like, I'm just some fleshy human thing, but this sun is giving us life and giving us love. And then they create God. Then they start thinking, no, maybe there's a God up there, a sun god, the sun god, or the god of the controller of the skies. And they're talking about gods and things like that. And then eventually we started really, really honing down on creating religions, and then putting rules into books over the religions and all those type of things. And then it became like, nah, man, look at all this science stuff. Look at how this 1 + 1 = this, and math and science. And look at the study of ice cubes, and look at the oxygen, and look at the atoms. And we found out about these little atoms that exist, and things we don't see, and hydrogen, and how we can die from certain gases. And there are gases, and water turns to gas. And we discover all these physical rules that we have on this planet. But really, it's a big code, and it's like we're in a video game. And I feel like math is part of the code that you can actually unlock and realize it's there. But until when you don't realize the code is there, though, you think it's all physical in the world. But there's really this underlying code that's going on. And when you find the code, it's so powerful. And so my point is that originally it was like physical. Everything we see is physical. Then it was religion. Then it was science. But then there's another step above that that gets into math. And then what's after that? There's something we're missing.
There certainly is. I mean, someday something will make itself known to us, because we're not alone, and maybe they'll have the answers.
I don't know, man. And maybe, but
I mean, just earlier I was going to bring this up too. It's pretty crazy, but you see in Texas there is these changing lights spotted across an 80-mile radius, and some people I saw it on Twitter first, and I found a better version of the video because I was only finding screenshots. It was on the Mirror, but you see these 4 lights make a shape of a diamond in the sky, and then they start to pass into the left of the sky, and then these diamond or square shape really goes ahead and forms a straight line and then moves. So it's very bizarre and seems pretty unique. It's hard to think what that could be besides some type of UFO, unidentified. I'm not saying it's necessarily alien, but it is unknown. Certainly.
Right. I think that we'll get into this in another episode or somewhere. We'll talk about this in another time. We could probably do another hour, but I'm going to save my voice and call it now. There was so many other things to talk about, but we just did an hour.
Yeah.
I hope you guys subscribe. I hope you like, comment, leave it down below. I'm sure this is going up on Final Frontier News and probably Patreon and maybe everywhere. I don't know, because it was that good. All right. But Jake, thanks, bro. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Leave some comments and download it, share it, do all that stuff. And we'll see you guys later.